Greetings from Tokyo. I hope you're well. I received some comments and questions from a couple of viewers, so I thought rather than answer the questions in a comment back, I thought I might as well make a quick video and just address the questions individually. Anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Um, So I received a number of questions from Neon Knights, Matt at Neon Knights. Anyway, how are you doing, Matt? I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for all of your questions and comments. I think they're really interesting and very enthusiastic. I love it. I really do. So you asked, for example, I like your new intro and outro. They have an early black and white 20s, 30s feel to them. What do the Japanese characters mean in English? So thank you very much for this. So I've just tried to play with YouTube editing and trying to make videos that are a little bit better than my videos before, which are probably amongst the worst edited videos on YouTube. I'm just trying to play around with the editing styles. So the characters that come at the beginning are actually that's my name in Japanese characters, and the Japanese that comes at the end of the video is the word owari, which means the end. So the beginning is my name, and the end is the end. So just a quick little thing, just to try to um, sort of yeah, because I'm Japanese, so I thought I might as well do something that's in Japanese, or in the kanji characters. So I hope you like it. um, why did Criterion release Supercop? That's a good question. I really have no idea. Supercop is, as you know, is a laserdisc that was released by Criterion Collection back in the laserdisc days, and it's the only Jackie Chan film to have gone through the Criterion treatment, at least on laserdisc. Right. So why not release the best of the series, Police Story 1? Police Story series is great, but the first two are fantastic, as you say. So, I have to agree. Although I think at the time of this video, um, I seem to recall that Eureka, the British label Eureka, is going to be releasing a Blu-ray set of, I think it's the Police Story Blu-ray set. So that might be worth checking out if you're interested in that. But as far as Criterion Collection and the Laserdiscs go, I really have no idea why Supercop was released. Although I'm a big fan of that film, and Michelle Yeoh is in that film, as you know, and it's got some excellent stunts and set pieces there. I will do a review, a specific review of Supercop one of these days. I plan to do reviews of each of the laser discs. So amongst them will be, of course, yes, Supercop. So that should be, hopefully, maybe I'll bring that up the schedule in order to satisfy your curiosity, Matt. Um, let's see. And you also say, let's see. Sorry, this is a really good film. Good questions that you have here. Oh yes, you're talking about um, Argento, and you were mentioning how you like Argento films, and you say, I even liked The Mother of Tears, but not as much as the first two in the Three Mothers trilogy. So that's very interesting because Mother of Tears, yeah, remember seeing that in the theater when it was first released, but it wasn't, well, yeah, I haven't seen it since, and unfortunately, I didn't have as fun a time as I would have liked to. That's not to say it's entirely terrible. I mean, there are some moments which I think are not bad, but overall, I think it's not the best film. Although I am appreciative of the fact that it can grow on you. And so if you like it, I think that's really great. And maybe because of your liking of the film, that'll get me more inspired to try to watch it again and try to give it another chance. So, Matt, thank you very much for that. I will give Mother of Tears another chance thanks to your recommendation. Um, Oh yes, and you mentioned also about you found out last year that there was actually an unofficial third entry in the Three Mothers series that came out in 1989 called The Black Cat or Demons Six de Profundis. I didn't even know this movie existed. Yes, so the director is Luigi Cozzi, as you point out. So I haven't seen this actually. I know of it, but I haven't seen it. So that's something that I would really love to catch and track down and watch. Again, thanks to your suggestion. Thank you very much, Matt. And then you asked me where was I born and raised in the U.S. So this was also asked by another viewer whose name is Steve. So Steve, hello, how are you? I hope you're well. Thank you so much for all of your comments and your enthusiasm for film, especially Robert Altman and other filmmakers, is really inspiring to me. So thank you. So Steve and Matt asked me the questions about what my background is. So, just very quickly, I was born in Japan, and yes, I was born in Japan, but because of my father's uh, work, he was transferred to the United States when I was very young, and so we lived in the United States for many, many years. I ended up going to university in the US, and after I graduated, I decided to come back to Japan after being away for so long. So, um, yes, so I do know the United States. I have lived in the United States for many years. In fact, we also lived when I was maybe 6 or 7. We moved to the United Kingdom, and I lived in London, or not London, excuse me, I lived in Surrey, which is south of London. We lived in a town called Guildford in Surrey, and then we also lived in a town called Woking in Surrey, and we lived there for about 4 years or so. I loved living in London, in England. It was really fun and exciting. I remember when we first arrived, it was maybe the late 80s, 86 or 87, something like that. And I turned on the TV and the Doctor Who came up, and it was Sylvester McCoy. He was the seventh Doctor, so it was one of his episodes, and I remember it was the end of part one of the series Dragonfire. Now, for those of you who know Doctor Who, you know that that is the bit where he's walking on the cliff, and he kind of climbs down, and he's just hanging on the cliff for whatever reason, and boom, that's the end of the first episode of Dragonfire. So that was the first ever Doctor Who that I ever saw when we moved to England. I'll never forget that. I love Doctor Who. And let's see. Oh yes, and then Matt, you also ask about have you seen Blade Runner 2049? And you say that was a beautifully shot and simply awesome movie. You say, I'm glad I saw it on the large theater screen. Yeah, so, Blade Runner 2049, in fact, I have not seen this yet. I unfortunately did not have a chance to catch it in the movie theater. I wanted to, but I just didn't have the time because I had work and also I have a family. I have a I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old, so it's a little bit hard to go out to the movies. But yeah, I really wanted to see that. It's not I don't have a very strong feeling about it either way, but I tend to be a little bit hesitant personally in going to a movie that is, let's say, a sequel to a film that was made in the 80s or 70s. I'm a little bit hesitant because I don't know if the new movie or the sequel is really a worthy sequel or worthy film, or whether it's just a cash grab on the part of producers, movie execs in Hollywood who are trying to cash in on this sense of nostalgia that seems to be, pervading the entire film industry. So that's why you have sequels to all these films that were made in the 80s, but no one ever thought about until recently. Like they made Wall Street 2, um, all these other sequels, which I don't think are necessary unless there's a certain reason behind it. I heard that Blade Runner 2049 was one of those films that seemed to not be a cash grab per se, but rather a natural continuation of the story that was set forth in Blade Runner. So if that's the case, then I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Um, you ask about Blade Runner. I love Blade Runner, the original. I have the Criterion Collection Laserdisc, the two of them, and I also have the Blu-ray, which is the big set. The one with all the different cuts. The theatrical cut, the director's cut, the work print, the final cut, and also that the great documentary about the making of Blade Runner. One of the greatest documentaries on Blu-ray about a making of film. Maybe that and Star Wars Episode One, The Phantom Menace making of documentary. I love those two documentaries. Um, one of these days, I will do a review of the Blade Runner Criterion Collection Laserdiscs. And maybe on that occasion, I'll talk more about how I feel about Blade Runner. Let me just say one thing right now, that Blade Runner is one of those rare films where, oh gosh, the hero, Deckard, the Harrison Ford character, the hero is actually the most villainous part of that film if you think about it. He's the one doing all this really terrible stuff, and it's the replicants. It's the replicants led by Roy Batty, um, who are all they're trying to do is just survive. They're just trying to figure out a way to extend their lives. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that idea. In fact, it's very natural for us to want to root for the people who are trying to survive rather than the people who are trying to kill them. And so Rick Deckard is the killer, and the replicants are the survivors, are the ones who are trying to find life. And so I always found myself siding with Roy Batty, and I always found myself not siding with Rick Deckard, although I really like Harrison Ford. Well, anyway, but that's just enough about Blade Runner. And then finally, Steve asked about some of my favorite films. Um, I tend to have a wide range of films that I really love, but I think my number one all-time favorite film or films, the ones that leave the longest impression upon me or the longest lasting impression upon me, probably have to be Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock, Eight and a Half by Federico Fellini, A Brighter Summer Day, by Edward Yang. And then there are also a lot of other films. John Carpenter comes to mind. The Thing is a masterpiece. It's not just a horror masterpiece, it is a film masterpiece, in my opinion. The Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. And I don't love Godfather 3, but I like it. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of others. Italian horror is something I really am into. 80s horror is something I'm really into. I grew up on Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. I love those films. Friday the 13th, I like the first five. I think those are the core. And the everything from six on, I'm not as familiar with. But I love the first five, especially part five. I love Friday the 13th, part five, A New Beginning. Um, that is a real gem. That is a wacky, one of the wackiest, sleaziest, most fun slasher films from that era. So wonderful, so wonderful. Um, and I also like, BBC television series. I like Dennis Potter. I like Agatha Christie adaptations. I love David Lynch. I was a big fan of the Twin Peaks season 3 that just came out, and Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet, of course. But my favorite film by David Lynch, I think, the one that tops them all for me, is Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. That is a wonderful film, not just for Twin Peaks fans, although it is for that too, but also as a film. It is really amazing and complex and like a labyrinth. When you watch it, you go in and it's like a hall of mirrors, and you walk out and you're not the same person at this, you're not the same person when you finish the film. You feel like you're changed. It's a really um, profoundly effective and moving David Lynch film. And without giving any spoilers, the last 2-3 minutes of that film are amongst the most powerful and most optimistic and life affirming in all of David Lynch's canon. I would say I love Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. I think it's really beautiful. All right. And so, Matt and Steve, thank you very much. I hope this is just a little, I don't know, I hope this helped to answer some of your questions. I hate to ramble on like this, so I really apologize for the sort of impromptu nature of this video. I promise that I will make more videos that focus on the Criterion Collection Laserdiscs. My idea is to make videos of basically reviews of each of the Laserdisc titles. So starting from Citizen Kane, going to King Kong, 39 Steps, Lady Vanishes, going forward, and going all the way up to, the last titles. So Picnic at Hanging Rock, Armageddon, etc., etc. So hopefully I'll be able to focus on that project starting in the next month or so. So please, I ask for your patience. Also, I will do Supercop, so please don't worry. Wait for Supercop. And let's see. Oh, I also want to do showcase my Criterion Collection Laserdiscs. I have all of the Criterion Collection Laserdiscs. I'm sorry, not Laserdiscs. What am I saying? The Criterion Collection DVDs and Blu-rays. So I have all of the spine numbers, DVDs and Blu-rays, and I have also the one-offs and the special box sets, etc. So maybe one of these days I will show those in another collection video, including the Eclipse series and including the Merchant Ivory series, and also the Essential Art House series and the Rialto box, etc., etc. Also the Akira Kurosawa big box set as well. And yes, and then amongst those videos, I hope to make other videos about other genre films that I have, and go from there. So if you have any questions or comments, or you have some requests about what I should show, please let me know. Thanks to Matt, I will plan on doing Super Cop and Blade Runner, and I will try to save my discussions of those films for those videos. But if you have any further suggestions or recommendations or requests, by all means, feel free to let me know at any time. You can let me know by commenting at YouTube here, or you can find me on Facebook and PM me, and we can go from there. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Your enthusiasm is infectious, and it's so charming. I really appreciate your enthusiasm. It inspires me to look out for more films and to watch more and to learn from you. That's the best thing about doing this, is learning from people like you. It's the best education for me, really. So the more you have to teach me, the happier I'll be. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you.